If you're one of our regulars, you know that I love using quotations in my talks. To use a cooking analogy, I think that the wise and witty sayings of the ages are like spices and herbs and seasoning in food. They enhance the flavor of the dish. Well, today I'm going to be using more than my usual share of quotations because I'm going to be talking about old age. So I can't quote myself because I'm not old yet. And I certainly can't quote any of you because you're not old yet. So I'm going to quote people who have been there and can tell us all about it. Now, we happen to be living in a pop culture that worships youth to the extent that we spend billions and billions of dollars every year on spas, skin creams, Botox, plastic surgery. We have hairstylists, hair dye, and baldness cures. Someone said if your hair is gray and you want it blonde, dye it. If your hair is straight and you want it curly, fry it. If you have no hair and you want some, buy it. The obsession with youth is fueled by Hollywood, the fashion industry, and especially the internet. We're bombarded with images of young, perfect people, and many of us waste time worrying about whether we can even come close to matching that impossible level of perfection. And it is an impossible level of perfection brought to you by video trickery, Photoshop, and artificial intelligence. Some of us have arrived at a level of self-acceptance and realize that what we look like is by far the least important part of aging. Not that looking as good as we can isn't important. It's part of our self-care and self-respect. If we can't all be considered handsome or beautiful, we can at the very least be well-groomed. Nowadays, some people say that 60 is the new 50 or that 40 is the new 30 or whatever. Many people are staying active and physically fit well into their golden years, and many are getting better at maturing instead of growing old. And I do think that the average 70-year-old today looks younger than a 70-year-old did in the 1950s. T.S. Eliot said, "The years between 50 and 70 are the hardest. You are always being asked to do things, and yet you're not decrepit enough to turn them down." But no matter how well we take care of ourselves, we have been conditioned by society to worry about getting older. The stand-up comic Stephen Wright said, "When I turned 2, I was really anxious because I'd doubled my age in a year. I thought, if this keeps up, by the time I'm 6, I'll be 90. Well, if old age is a problem, it's a problem that cannot be solved in beauty salons or plastic surgery centers. Your mind holds the key to whether you're maturing or growing old. George Burns said that you can't help growing older, but you don't have to get old. And he was frequently seen with a beautiful young lady on his arm, and someone asked him once, "Why don't you date women your own age?" And he said, "Because there are no women my age." Well, it's said that you're only as young as you feel. And you've, of course, heard the baseball great Satchel Paige's wonderful line, "How old would you be if you didn't know how old you was?" Well, the truth is, you're only as old as you think. And remember that your feelings are generated by your thoughts. So thinking more negative thoughts than positive thoughts will make you feel old before your time. Did you ever wonder why some old people are cranky and crotchety? They've had a lot of practice. They're very good at it. Chances are they started the habit of negative thinking when they were young, and year after year, they've improved their ability to be pessimistic, resentful, angry, depressed, critical, and bored. But as Raymond Charles Barker tells us, it takes neither intelligence nor virtue to complain about everything. People who are productive and happy in their mature years have usually been working at that for a long time. Like anything else, proper practice makes us good at whatever we're doing. Sophia Loren, who retained her beauty well into her golden years, said, "There is a fountain of youth. It is your mind, your talents, the creativity you bring into your life and the lives of the people you love. When you learn to tap this source, you will have truly defeated age." So mind is the key. Your body is important too, but your mind is in charge of your life. Now, the mind you used at the age of 15 is the mind you're using now, except you now know more. And the mind you use now is the same mind you'll use at age 90 or 100, at which time you'll know even more. Does a 20-year-old have the ability to do things you cannot? Perhaps. But does a 20-year-old have the wisdom to do what you can? One of the blessings of youth is that our bodies are very forgiving. Stay out all night, drink a six-pack or two, get a couple of hours of sleep, go to class, and take a test. The ability to bounce back is probably nature's way of ensuring that we'll survive until we become wise enough to take care of ourselves. As we get older, we tend to bounce back more slowly. And I think Mother Nature assumes that as we mature, we should have enough sense to look after ourselves properly. And if we're living consciously, we learn how to take care of our minds, our emotions, and our bodies. The ragtime composer and pianist Eubie Blake said on his 92nd birthday, "If I'd known I was going to live this long, I would have taken better care of myself." And I think the secret to maturing without growing old involves three things: what we think, what we do, and what we love. Each of those things involves flexibility, the capacity to accept change as normal, and a passion for life. If our thinking is flexible, it means that our mind is open to new ideas, new inspirations, new ways of thinking. Ernest Holmes used to say that we should be open at the top, by which he meant that there's always the possibility of a higher idea, a fuller experience of life, a higher manifestation of truth. We stay flexible mentally the same way we stay flexible physically, through exercise. Neuroscience tells us that we're building our brains every time we work on a puzzle, try to learn a new language, take up a musical instrument, or read something outside of our normal genres. And it's interesting to think about the link between mental flexibility and physical flexibility. Joel Osteen tells about a man who came to his father's church, a man whose hands had been so twisted and so gnarled with arthritis that he couldn't open a car door, shake hands, or most anything else that hands are meant to do. And after suffering with this for years, he heard a sermon about the power of forgiveness. And he began thinking about the resentments he had been holding on to for so many years. And as he began to work on himself and forgive others, the anger began to leave his mind. and the anger began to leave his body. In his own words, the most amazing thing began to happen. One by one, my fingers started straightening out. 1 week went by and this finger would get healed, and the next week, this finger would get healed, and the next week, this finger. And as I continued to search my heart and eliminate all of that bitterness and resentment, God brought complete healing to me. And now, look at my hands. I'm completely normal. Mental flexibility also involves the capacity to accept change as normal. As we get older, it seems that the world changes at an ever faster pace, and it's our choice to choose whether to accept the change or not. We don't have to be thrilled at every change, but it's no good sitting on our front porch and shaking our fist at the world. The world will always change with or without our blessing. So we can choose to be miserable, or we can choose to be happy regardless of outside events. Being mentally flexible also involves maintaining an interest in life. Most old people's circles of interest and activity shrink with every passing year. It's as if they're not just retired from their jobs, but they're retiring from life too. Are you retiring from life? Unless you pursue something interesting every day, you're not really living as much as you're just taking up space. Joel Hildebrand wrote, "Very few people do anything creative after the age of 35. The reason is that very few people do anything creative before the age of 35. So creativity is a habit that we can cultivate and which will keep us young. Are you still interested in life? Part of that involves taking an interest in current affairs, meeting new people, and trying new things. No one grows old by living, only by losing interest in living. I read about a business owner who only hired young people, and he told them right up front that they would be let go when they turned 22. Why? He wanted to be surrounded by a continual stream of youthful enthusiasm and new ways of looking at the world. This apparently worked for him. He worked well into his 90s, in spite of the fact that for decades he smoked 4 packs of cigarettes per day. One of the big differences between the old and the young is enthusiasm. But enthusiasm is not something that happens to us. Enthusiasm is something that we generate. Whether or not we generate it will go a long way in determining whether we mature or grow old. Thoreau said, "None are so old as those who have outlived enthusiasm." And Raymond Charles Barker put it this way, "You are as young as your inspiration, and you are as old as your lack of it." And of course, we all know the benefits of exercise. We don't always do anything about it, but we all know. Life is all about motion. How much, how often, how deliberately are you in motion? Are you getting older because life is slowing down or because you are slowing down? We know that the more we move, the more we are able to move. Use it or lose it definitely applies here. Your body only gives you what you demand of it. Try playing softball only once a year at the big family reunion or the company picnic, and you'll likely pay for the fun you had with a couple of days of muscle aches and joint pain. Why? You haven't placed regular demands on your body. And your body isn't going to go out of its way to give you something you don't demand. It's all about staying active, staying busy. Growing old is no more than a bad habit, which a busy person has no time to form. So stay active as you can for as long as you can. My best friend's mother just had a very serious, very lengthy spinal surgery. It took about 7.5 hours. And in an era when they kick you out of the hospital as fast as they possibly can, they kept Linda hospitalized for 8 days. But that wasn't 8 days of just lying in bed watching TV. On the day after the surgery, they had her out of bed, walking the hallways, and in physical therapy, doing exercises. She's at home now, and I'm happy to say that she's recovering nicely. The surgeons, the nurses, and the physical therapists did their part. And of course, Spirit did its part. But it was so important that Linda do her part. Again, use it or lose it. And the good news is that when you sincerely do your best to do everything that you can do, the universe conspires to help you out. It's been said, do what you can, and God will do what you can't. Pablo Casals, the cellist who lived and worked well into his 90s, said, if you continue to work and absorb the beauty in the world around you, you will find that age does not necessarily mean getting old. The person who works and is never bored is never old. Work and interest in worthwhile things are the best remedy for age. Each day, I am reborn. Each day, I must begin again. And General Douglas MacArthur summed it up this way: youth is not entirely a time of life. It is a state of mind. Nobody grows old by merely living a number of years. People grow old only by deserting their ideals. You are as young as your faith, as old as your doubt, as young as your self-confidence, as old as your fear. As young as your self-confidence and as old as your fear, as young as your hope, as old as your despair. Years may wrinkle the skin, but to give up interest wrinkles the soul. Well, our bodies may age, although there's a great deal we can do about keeping them going much longer than was considered normal by our ancestors. Our mind, however, is eternal. It can never grow old unless we make it that way. Keeping our minds young is a lifetime pursuit. Picasso said that it takes a long time to become young. And Mae West said, you're never too old to become younger. Most of the time, we judge our age by what the calendar says, but that's just a number. You also have a biological age, which is determined by how old you think you are. Your expectations reinforce your interpretation. So if you think you're growing old, you are. The truth is that you can slow down the aging process and in many ways reverse it. You just have to know how. In researching this talk, I ran across an interesting article on remaining vital, regardless of where we may happen to fall on the calendar. And it's based on an acronym of the word healthy. And interestingly, much of its advice lines up with what we teach and practice in the science of mind. So here's how to stay healthy, Healthy. H stands for healthy choices. Our most precious spiritual gift is our ability to choose. At every moment of every day, we're surrounded by a vast range of possibilities from which we get to choose. It's time to recognize that the way you organize your daily life, how you fill your time and space, what you have in your pantry, in the refrigerator, in your medicine cabinet, and perhaps especially what you have on your bookshelves, all of these things promote your ability to make wise choices or not. Do an inventory of your surroundings and ask yourself if the items help you make a wise choice to promote your health. Who owns your health? You do. E stands for eat wisely. It's difficult to put premium fuel in your car if the gas station only has low-octane gas. Well, how about your fuel? Are you eating a healthy, balanced diet of foods that fulfill your body's requirements of protein, dairy, veggies, grains, and fruits? Unless you choose to surround yourself with these products, you'll be running on the wrong fuel. In many ways, you really are what you eat. A stands for activity. Your physical body is temporary. It's been called your earth suit, or you can think of it as your vehicle for moving around in this incarnation of life. And if you take care of it, it will serve you well. And if you don't take care of it, instead of a Rolls Royce, you'll have a broken down jalopy. Regardless of how well you take care of your earth vehicle, there will come a time when you'll trade it in for something far better, something that you can't even imagine right now. But for now, your body is a God-given gift. Take good care of it, and it will serve you well. L stands for life's little goals. Did you ever try to leap tall buildings in a single bound? Unless you're Superman, you can't do it. You need little, consistent daily changes to arrive at your larger destiny, but with smarter goals. That means setting goals that are specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, time-bound, and enthusiastically set, and that come with a reward at the end. T stands for true thinking. You are what you think when it comes to taking care of yourself and living healthy, both physically and emotionally. Monitor your thinking and make sure your beliefs, which determine your right turns and left turns in life, make sure your beliefs are true, helpful, inspiring, necessary, and kind. True, helpful, inspiring, necessary, and kind. Hey, that's another acronym. T-H-I-N-K, think. H stands for healthcare. I think it's better to take a walk than to take a pill, but we humans have a vast array of knowledge which tells us that this is healthy and that is not. And all of that knowledge is more available for us than ever before. So we can increase our well-being and longevity by recognizing that we must own our own health care, partnering with our doctor, fitness trainer, mental coach, dietitian, massage therapist, and the like. Yearly checkups, regularly monitoring blood pressure, cholesterol, and so on are part of normal health care and prevention. And with the right prevention, you won't have to treat a disease. And Y stands for yes. Yes, I can positivity. You know, there's two forms of well-being that are associated with physical and emotional living: reduced stress and depression. Hedonic, which is from the same root word as hedonism. Hedonic, the pursuit of pleasure, just for pleasure in the moment. And eudaimonic, those pleasures that come from a larger purpose, beyond self-gratification. Eudaimonic is a Greek word that refers to a state of well-being or happiness that comes from living a life of purpose and meaning. It's often used to describe a deeper form of happiness, one that's more lasting than the hedonic or short-term pleasures, which are sort of like empty calories, while eudaimonic pleasures are derived from seeing the positive in all of life, finding the meaning in daily interactions with others, being connected to others, living according to spiritual principles. This has the bigger bang for the happiness buck, helping us prevent and recover from life's ills. Healthy choices, eat wisely, activity, life's little goals, true thinking, healthcare, and yes, I can, positivity. And although the healthy acronym placed yes, I can, positivity last on the list, it's actually the most important. More than any other determining factor, you are what you think. So if you find yourself thinking old, the first thing to do is to shift your perspective. You might try this affirmation from Deepak Chopra. Every day, in every way, I am increasing my mental and physical capacity. With the right expectations and healthy daily rituals, you can grow younger as you age. Now, with time, our bodies do break down, just as an old car does. However, just as there are car repair shops that can keep our cars running well for many thousands of miles, resources are available to help us slow the deterioration of our bodies. It's a combination of diet, exercise, right thinking and speaking, prayer, meditation, mindfulness, loving family, and friends. Our goal is not to live on this earth forever, but as the decades pile up, the ideal progression is to be healthy, 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 and then graduate to the next cosmic adventure. And one more thing, laugh often. Laughter is better for you and more effective than any prescription pill because it has the power to change your body chemistry from acidic, which can lead to disease, to alkaline, which is necessary for health. And laughter also gets your endorphins going and helps restore balance in your system. Laugh often, every day, even when things get difficult, especially when things get difficult. Raymond Charles Barker coined a phrase that's been dancing around in my mind all week. Mature in the pattern of youth. Mature in the pattern of youth. And I think that phrase sums up this talk very nicely. And Raymond Charles Barker gives his thoughts behind the stage. Says, what's it about old age? Don't do anything about it. Do you fight it? No, it's never effective. God did not create you to deteriorate. God made you to glorify life. You will not grow old. You will mature. You are going to change, but you are not on a road to deterioration. God never made such a pathway. Don't let the world tell you about old age. Don't study old age. Change events and people in your life regularly. Bring people into your life. There is always a new way when you want a new way. And then he said, There is a great advantage in being
old and crotchety.
the older you get,
the nastier you can be
and get away with it. But you'll have to give up that advantage. Watch your limits. Watch your
criticisms.
break
your ruts.
watch your
extensions.
love
God.
believe in your own,
own soul.
and you will mature in the pattern of youth. So let's forget about fountain of youth. That doesn't exist. Even if it did, it would only help us if we had constant access to it. But the pattern of youth, that is ours because we build it ourselves and maintain it ourselves. So you truly are as young as your faith, as old as your doubt, as young as your self-confidence, as old as your fear, as young as your hope, as old as your despair. Years may wrinkle the skin, but to give up interest in life wrinkles the soul. Love God. Believe in your own soul, and you will mature in the pattern of youth. Namaste.